Does anybody have any questions or comments you want to start with before we get started with tonight's talk? Okay.
It, if I
Yes.
may,
Yeah, sure.
I missed you guys last week. I was dealing with something here at home that was a little chaotic, and I found myself in the middle of it thinking, man, I can't wait for my next Buddhism class because, like this is really helping me get through what I'm getting through. And about 10 minutes later, I realized that I had missed it. Like I was
Oh,
thinking, boy, I can't wait for the next one while it was going on.
right.
So I missed you guys last week.
Well, we missed you. I hope you had a good anniversary a couple of weeks ago.
It was very nice.
Good.
That was very nice. The last 2 weeks have been complete chaos, but that was very nice.
Okay. Very good. All right. Well, let's get started tonight. And so everybody's got their prayer book. So we'll start with the opening prayers. And Rebecca, would you like to read the prayers?
I would like to politely decline if that's okay with you.
That's fine.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Well, then, Tom, it's up to you then tonight.
Sure. Okay. Start with the altruistic motivations. Once in English or twice in English and once in Tibetan. All mother sentient beings, especially those enemies who hate me, obstructors who harm me, and those who create obstacles on my path to liberation and omniscience, may they experience happiness, be separated from suffering, and swiftly I will establish them in the state of unsurpassed, perfect, complete, and precious Buddhahood. All mother sentient beings, especially those enemies who hate me, obstructors who harm me, and those who create obstacles on my path to liberation and omniscience, may they experience happiness, be separated from suffering, and swiftly I will establish them in the state of unsurpassed, perfect, complete, and precious Buddhahood. Dang la, dang war, jpe dra, no par jpe ge. Darpa dang tamche kenpe bardu chopar chepa, tamche kiso jpe. Manam ka dang yampe semchen tamche dewa dang den. Dunya dang drill nirdu lana me pa yang dang par zope changchu rinpoche. The parsha. Action bodhicitta prayer. Thus, until I achieve enlightenment, I perform virtuous deeds with body, speech, and mind. Until death, I perform virtuous deeds with body, speech, and mind. From now until this time tomorrow, I perform virtuous deeds with body, speech, and mind. De chedu sang mage ki bardu lugang isum gyawa lako. Ma she bardu lugang isum gyawa lako. Du de ring ne sung te nima sangda sangi bardu lugang isum gyawa lako. Long refuge prayer. We take refuge in the kind root lama and the lineage lamas. We take refuge in the deities and the mandalas of the yidams. We take refuge in all the exalted Buddhas. We take refuge in the perfect Dharma. We take refuge in the excellent order of the Sanghas. We take refuge in all the noble Dakas, Dakinis, and Dharma guardians, possessors of the eye of wisdom. We take refuge in the kind root lama and the lineage lamas. We take refuge in the deities and the mandalas of the yidams. We take refuge in all the exalted Buddhas. We take refuge in the perfect Dharma. We take refuge in the excellent order of the Sanghas. We take refuge in all the noble Dakas, Dakinis, and Dharma guardians, possessors of the eye of wisdom. Drinchen Sawadang Gyurpar Chepe Palden Lama Dampa Namla Kayop Sochio. Yedam kilkor gilak sho namla kayop sochio. Sangje chomdende namla kayop sochio. Dampe cho namla kayop sochio. Pakpe jendung namla kayop sochio. Pawo kandro choyok sume so yeshiki. Chendang denpa namla kayop sochio. Taking the Bodhisattva vow. Until I attain the heart of enlightenment, I take refuge in all the Buddhas. I take refuge in the Dharma, and likewise in the assembly of the Bodhisattvas. As the previous Buddhas embraced the enlightened mind and progressed on the Bodhisattva's path, I too, for the benefit of all sentient beings, give birth to bodhicitta and apply myself to accomplish the stages of the path. Until I attain the heart of enlightenment, I take refuge in all the Buddhas. I take refuge in the Dharma, and likewise in the assembly of the Bodhisattvas. As the previous Buddhas embraced the enlightened mind and progressed on the Bodhisattva's path, I too, for the benefit of all sentient beings, give birth to bodhicitta and apply myself to accomplish the stages of the path. Changchu Nyingpo Chi Kibar Sangje Namla Kayop Sochi Chodang Changchu Senpei Yi Shog Layang Deshin Kayop Sochi Jitar Gongi De Sheki Changchu Dongyi Ke Patang Changchu Senpei La Pala Dedang Rimshin Ne Patar Deshin Drola Pendong Du Changchu Semni Ki Zing Duzin Duni La Pala Rimpar Shindu La Pargi. The short refuge prayer. In the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha most excellent, I take refuge until enlightenment is reached. By the merit of generosity and other good deeds, may I attain Buddhahood for the sake of all sentient beings. In the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha most excellent, I take refuge until enlightenment is reached. By the merit of generosity and other good deeds, may I attain Buddhahood for the sake of all sentient beings. Sangje Chodang Soki Chongnam La Changchu Bardu Dangi Kayop Sochi Dangi Jinso Jipe Sonamki Drola Penshu Samge Drew Partial. The four measurables. May all mother sentient beings, boundless as the sky, have happiness and the causes of happiness. May they be liberated from suffering and the causes of suffering. May they never be separated from the happiness that is free from sorrow. May they rest in equanimity, free from attachments and aversions. May all mother sentient beings, boundless as the sky, have happiness and the causes of happiness. May they be liberated from suffering and the causes of suffering. May they never be separated from the happiness that is free from sorrow. May they rest in equanimity, free from attachments and aversions. Madam kadang yampe sem chen tam che dewadang dewe girdang denpar girshi. Dunya dang dunya giyudang drawar girshi. Dunya mepe dewadang mi drawar girshi. Nering chagdang nidang drawe tang yomla nepar girshi. Did you want me to continue, Lance?
No, that's good. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, so tonight we're on chapter 4 of Learning Buddhism. We're talking about Samatha meditation, calm abiding meditation. So up to this point, we've been talking about what it is to take refuge in the three jewels, the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. We talked about the Buddha's first teaching, the Four Noble Truths, and we talked about the four thoughts that turn the mind to the Dharma, those the karma that is causing us to have this precious human life amid all this impermanence, and to be able to recognize the karma cause and effect, and recognize the suffering of samsara that puts us in this karma cause and effect. So now for us to be able to really understand this, to be able to look at this, to be able to experience this in a more transcendent way, not just with our intellectual mind. We start with that, but to be able to allow our intellectual mind to get to a point where we just rest our mind. And then the meditation really begins. The meditation is what we would call familiarizing ourselves with the Buddha, familiarizing ourselves. The Buddha is within ourselves, and the Buddha has something very powerful to say, but it's very simple. It's very subtle. It's almost in another language. And for us to be able to recognize that, we have to be able to rest our intellectual mind. It has to be very peaceful and calm. And our body needs to be balanced, needs to be calm. So with the energy of our body not fidgeting around and so on, we can channel that energy. And with our mind not jumping around like a monkey mind, going from one thought to another, but being focused on our practice, on our meditation, then that energy all comes together, and then it's like a key that fits into a lock, and then all of a sudden the lock just opens up. And the lock is our heart center. And this is where our true nature is. This is where our love is. This is our true nature. This is where we call Buddha nature. But this could also be called the Christ. This could also be called God. This also could be called Krishna, or whatever tradition you come from, or that always talks about this true nature, this essence that we have within us. So for us, we call it this Buddha nature, the awakened one, and that's the way the awakened one is realizing that, is having this true nature unlocked. So with this comes our bodhicitta, the holy awakened mind. So we've talked about that a number of times. And bodhicitta is loving kindness, compassion, joy, and equanimity. So all these beings who are holy beings, sacred beings, beings who have accomplished a great in their lifetimes and are remembered for their love and compassion and wisdom and so on, they all have these qualities, these four immeasurable qualities of bodhicitta. They may not express it that way, but in Buddhism we do. But if you go and you study and you contemplate, look at these different beings, you'll see that they have these qualities and they are respected for these qualities. So this calm abiding meditation is the first major step in being able to focus our mind, to bring it to a one-pointed mindfulness, to quiet things down so that this wisdom that is within us, this Buddha wisdom, begins to come up. We begin to see that coming up. We begin to recognize it and so on. And it comes up, and it comes into our psyche. It comes into our brain. It comes into our thoughts. So there are brain thoughts that are all the confusions that are blocking up our heart thoughts. So the heart thoughts are the thoughts of our Buddha nature. So, but they're easily overcome because they're very subtle by our brain thoughts. So the idea is to be able to quiet our brain so that our heart thoughts now come up and we recognize them with our brain, and they become part of our daily expression of who we are and what it is that we do and so on. So that through our body, we have wholly enlightened mind. Through our speech, we have wholly enlightened mind, and the wholly enlightened mind is coming from our heart center. So we're seeing these three things come together. So in this chapter, we're going to talk about the motivations and some of the characteristics of shamatha meditation. We're going to talk a little bit about the mechanics of the meditation. So we'll get more into the actual meditation another time when we have a little bit more time to spend on that. But first, we need to understand why it is that we're doing this. You know, in our studies, we look at what it is that we're doing, we're looking at why we are doing it, and we're looking at how we are doing it. So the what tonight is shamatha meditation, and now we're going to explore the why. As we get into the how, we're going to look a little bit at that tonight, but we need more time. We need a whole session just to talk about the how. So if anybody has any questions while I'm talking, please don't hesitate to open up your mics and come right in and ask a question or make a comment. So here we're talking about one-pointed concentration, one-pointed mindfulness. So the mind does not follow our discursive conceptual thoughts. We have all these conceptual thoughts. We are conceptual beings. It's the way we image things and we look at things about how it is that it affects me, and so it's me and other and these objects and so on. So this is the way we think, is conceptually, and we communicate with each other conceptually. And it's important to be able to understand what those conceptual words are. It's very, so this is part of what we're doing through our Buddhism 101, is now understanding these conceptual words that have to do with Buddhist philosophy and so on. So discursive means that you're looking at all the different aspects of a particular topic. It doesn't mean that your mind is jumping around, going from one thing to another. It means that it's on one particular topic, but looking around all the different facets of what that topic is. So that's what discursive thought is. There's a time for discursive thought, but there's also a time when discursive thought can be pulling us away and not allowing us to concentrate on our one-pointed mindfulness. So here we're trying to bring the mind now on meditation, which is basically one concept, and to stay there without getting into too many of the aspects of it. So first we have to understand what those aspects are. We have to look at what the discursive thoughts of meditation are. So we've developed our strong habits of obscurations, blockages, these mental blockages that we've called our emotions and so on, our mental misconceptions that we hold on to as our arrogance, saying, oh, this is the way it is. If I think it, it must be true. Or maybe there's somebody else who I respect and they've said this to me and I believe them. And until they change their mind, I'm not going to change my mind. So, but we hold on to these blockages, we hold on to these mental misconceptions. And all this are blockages keeping us from our true nature. So this true nature is our innate nature, that if we can stop our body from fidgeting, if we can stop our mind, what is the state of our true mind, of our innate mind? And the state of our true mind is being peaceful, is being calm, is being quiet, is not having any thought. just being naturally quiet, naturally simple. That's the state of our mind and our true mind. That's where the happiness is. That's where our satisfaction is. When our mind starts churning around with different ideas, then we start jumping from one thing to another, and then suffering develops out of that. So we want to be quiet. We'd like to be quiet, but it's so difficult. I have so many things I need to think about. So the mind is like an ocean with many waves. So the waves come up and they're being, churned up by the wind that is blowing against the water, the surface of the water, and the water is moving. Maybe it's a river water, maybe it's an ocean water, but there are rocks that are in the process in the water. And as the wind is coming and the water is moving along the rocks and so on, waves come up and so on. And these are like the different thoughts that arise in the mind that are confusing and so on. But they're mind thoughts, they're brain thoughts. When the wind dies down, when the rocks are gone, when the water becomes calm, then the waves just go back into their natural state, which is the ocean, which is just calm and peaceful. So it's the waves are the same as the mind, as the body. So we need to be able to recognize that. So the inner peace and happiness, the mind becomes happy and relaxed. And that benefits us in this life. Once we have that experience of being peaceful, once we have that calm experience, we say, oh, I really like that. That's really good. Why can't I stay like that becomes the question. So stable shamatha meditation. Shamatha is a Sanskrit word that means calm abiding, that we remain in this calm state, this peaceful state. And in this state, we don't get angry easily. We don't get jealous. We don't, we're in the midst of being able to be circumspective if we need to be, but we're not being led around by a ring in our nose by virtue of our ego and our ignorance and so on. So it's a very calm way to be. Whatever difficulty that we encounter, whatever situation we're in, it doesn't disturb us. We're in this calm state of mind. And if things begin to happen, we're able to allow those things to come in and we can deal with those things. We can compartmentalize things. Maybe we say, oh, that's something I don't need to think about right now. I'll think about it later. Maybe it's something that's important and I need to write it down because it's something important, but it's not too important that I have to stop my practice now, my meditation now. So let me write it down and I'll deal with it later. Sometimes it's something very important and you have to stop whatever you're doing and you have to consider that which is coming in. Maybe it's related to the meditation, or maybe it's something that is an important thing. The fire alarm is going off or something and you have to deal with that. But if it's the phone ringing, maybe you say, well, the answering machine will get that. I don't have to think about it. Just let me stay here in my shamatha meditation, let the phone ring. I'll deal with it later. So it's being able to adopt this system of how to deal with these thoughts that come in during the time that we're doing our meditation. We want to have a stable, calm, abiding experience. When we're doing this, we don't have any other body but our own body. It's not another body of anybody else. And people who are doing this meditation, doing shamatha, they tend to be healthy. They tend to be happy because they're not developing neuroses. where our mind is going around, jumping around and everything. It makes us nervous, it makes us agitated, and that affects our body. It affects our brain, and that affects our physical body and so on. So meditators, practitioners of shamatha meditation tend to be very youthful, at least in their outlook, and maybe in their demeanor, in the way that they appear, and also in the way that they deal with problems. Things are very easy for them. They don't get upset very easily. Also, meditators like this have a radiance about them. They are calm within themselves, and that calmness kind of radiates around. You know, some people might say, oh, it's like an aura or something like that. So, you know, I don't go so far as to say it's like an aura. Some people say, oh, I can see your aura and stuff like that. Maybe they can. But the point is that this calmness and this peacefulness and this wisdom and this ability to be able to be calm in the face of all this difficulty and so on, people pick up on, people recognize that. So these are things that, you know, when we become a meditator, that people do, you know, say, oh, you know, how come all of a sudden you don't seem to get angry anymore? How come you always seem to be so happy and peaceful? And then they find out, oh, well, maybe it's because of my meditation practice. So other people can pick up on it, although they may not be able to identify it as your meditation practice. They just see the result of wisdom. They see it as the result of compassion. They see it as joy. They see it as equanimity. The four joys, the four immeasurable qualities of bodhicitta. That's what grows when we're practicing meditation. Our four immeasurable qualities. So it just doesn't benefit us, but it benefits other people that we come in contact with. And as we talk about from the very beginning, everything that we do in the way of our Dharma practice is for the benefit of other beings. So when we're always thinking about that, we're always dedicating everything that we do. So this in particular, this peacefulness, this bodhicitta is what we are dedicating to the benefit of other beings, that they themselves may be able to be attracted to this and want to take up meditation practice and to be able to attain an enlightenment in their life and so on. So I mentioned before the monkey mind, and this is what we refer to as the mind jumping from one thought to another. And I'm sure everybody at one time or another has that almost every day, maybe almost every moment of every day, is that our minds are jumping. And we really see it with young kids. You know, if you have young kids around, you know, 3, 4, 5 years old, their minds are constantly going and they're always running around. And we don't stop that very much ourselves, even as we get older in our lives. But what we're trying to do now is to be able to recognize that and calm that down. So there's a process that's involved to be able to do that. And this is what we're analyzing. This is what we're building up to being able to recognize those things. But we call that monkey mind, is a very descriptive term. So this shamatha meditation, this calm abiding meditation, is not something that comes easy. It's not something that just comes by wishing it's going to come and sitting down one time or 2 times or 3 times. It's a process. It's a series of times over and over and over again. And it takes practice and practice. And because it's a practice, there's failure. And we have to accept the failure, but be able to exalt the successes that we have and say, oh, this is why I'm doing it. This is the result. And now I see why it is that I failed, what the problem was. And now I can prepare myself so I don't have those recurring failures, but they become more and more successes. So we develop that over time. And we have to make a commitment. It's important to make commitments in our practices. You know, without that, we just become kind of lackadaisical without a goal. We're just wandering. We're just meandering. We're just migrators who aren't paying attention to where it is that we're going. So if we're trying to get to peace of mind, we have to identify that and work for that. Mm. So I mentioned before that our mind sometimes goes to our emotions. Um, and the five emotions we talked about a while ago, we haven't talked about it recently, but I'll mention them right now so that maybe if you want to take some notes or something, you can remember these. We have 84,000 emotions, it's said. When the Buddha was living 2,600 years ago, he went around from village to village in northern India, and he met many people. And all these people came to him with all their stories, why they are suffering and so on. And so it was categorized as being the 84,000 emotions that he was teaching people to be able to overcome these 84,000 people with their emotions and so on. So these 84,000 emotions get reduced down to five poisons. And the five poisons are ignorance, hatred, desire, jealousy or envy, and greed or pride. Those are the five poisons. And all the myriad combinations of those five poisons in all different percentages with all different conditions that are surrounding um, us all the time make up those 84,000 emotions. So when we're sitting down to do our meditation, we may be already agitated, we may be bringing emotions with us, and likely we are. And the first thing we have to do is to be able to rest those. But the way that we rest those is by applying antidotes to them, by understanding what is the hatred that I might have, understanding what is the jealousy I might have, or the ignorance, or whatever it is, and say, okay, this is the most strong thing that I can feel right now, and deal with that. And then if you satisfy that, then maybe something else comes up secondly, and you deal with that. But you have a means of being able to work with this. So the antidote to ignorance is education. If there's something that we don't know, if there's something we don't understand, we need to be able to explore. We need to be able to research. We need to be able to ask people. We need to be able to look into a book. We need to go to a teacher or something. So the antidote to hatred is loving kindness, is love. If if hatred is coming at you, and you are able, strong enough, courageous enough to meet that anger with love and say, I'm not going to hurt you. I don't, I'm not going to do that at all. I don't want you to hurt me or anybody else or anything. I don't want you to hurt yourself. And I'm here to help you. And if you can help that hatred by subduing it with loving kindness, that's the antidote to that hatred. Then desire, the way we overcome desire, the antidote to desire is withdrawal, is not exactly withdrawal, but is circumspection, is meditation, is being able to step back a little bit and be able to see the obsession that is causing your passion, that is your attachments, your lust, your desire, to be able to do that. And when you're in the midst of that kind of desire, when you're in the midst of that kind of lust and passion, it's very, very difficult to break through that. And the only way to do it really is to take a time out to be able to look at that. It takes a little time to do that. So if you have the skill to be able to do that, if you have the aspiration to want to do that, and the technique to be able to do that, that's what this shamatha meditation is really about. Because our strongest poison is our desire. We desire this life. We desire this body. We desire all this stuff. And then when all the things begin to happen against that desire, all these other emotions begin to develop and so on. So our meditation itself is the very thing that is going to help us to overcome desire. With jealousy, we have a sense of poor well-being, that we're not worthy, that we can't have things. And when we see others that have it, we're jealous of them. Or we have some degree of accomplishment, but we're jealous if somebody comes along and wants to challenge that with their greater, become envious of that. So the antidote to jealousy is accomplishment, is moving in and facing that weakness that we might have, and being able to use our resources courageously to be able to build up and have some accomplishment. And we build up on accomplishment layer by layer, bit by bit. It doesn't all come at one time. It just comes a little bit at a time. And we have to be able to recognize that process and enter that process. And then the next one was greed and pridefulness. Greed and pridefulness. So the antidote to that is generosity. If we're greedy, it's because we have amassed some power, we have amassed some knowledge, we have amassed some material goods and so on, and we want to hold that for a rainy day for us. If I go giving this to other people, I'm not likely to have it when I need it. So I'm going to hold on to it for myself. But if we share that with other beings and so on, we find we always have what we need. We may not always have what we want, but we recognize what we need, and we're sharing that what we can with other beings. Pridefulness is another example of that greediness, because I then become prideful that I have this knowledge, I have this material means and so on, and I become prideful that I'm better than somebody else. But again, through sharing, through generosity, is the way that we break down, that we overcome that greediness and that pridefulness. So we have to be aware of these things, these 5 things. We have to be aware of the 5 poisons, what causes the 5 poisons, and what are the antidotes to those 5 poisons. If we don't meet these things, or the way in which we meet these things, let's put it that way, the way in which we meet these 5 poisons, these emotions, is through our actions. What do they precipitate now? And those actions are the karma. And the karma then has a result. So if our idea here is to be able to neutralize our karma, to be able to rest our karma. And if we got to make karma, let's make good karma. Let's take bad karma and transform it into good karma, have a good result. But if we can take it and just rest and just relax and not have to create any karma, is actually the goal that we really want to do, because then we can rest in this peace of mind that we don't need to do anything. This is the calmness. This is the meditation at its highest level.
Lance, can I ask you a question about that last comment you made about the neutral?
Yes.
So first, let me ask you, how often do you find yourself in that spot in a day, like going throughout your day, where you find that you're in what you would describe neutral? where, so you've got good, like accumulating good karma or negative karma, and then the place, I guess you described it as neutral.
Well, let's put it this way: it's getting better. So some days are better than other days. You know, my morning time is my meditation time, my practice time. So the whole morning time is very peaceful and serene, very quiet like that. And then when I get up off the cushion and I go downstairs and I have to meet the day, then sometimes I can keep that kind of mind for quite a while. But then sometimes things start happening. I start getting conversation going and phones ring and things happen, and then I'm being challenged all the time. So I want to be in that mind, and I'm aware when I'm being pulled away from that mind, and I'm trying to deal with whatever that interruption is so that I can get back to that peace of mind as quickly as I can. If I
So,
lose control, then everything starts spiraling downhill, and then it may require, a timeout, and I'm going back to my meditation room or wherever I need to go to be able to collect myself to get back to that peace of mind.
relative to, I guess, doing, let's say, things that, like for generous, like karma that would accumulate, or things that we could describe as generous, so accumulate good karma. You're saying that being in that neutral peace of mind is actually, that is the higher goal than actually working towards good karma. Am I hearing you correctly when you describe that to us?
Yes.
Okay. So I just want to make sure I'm like gelling this, because every time, this is my third time with you, and I'm like, I'm like realizing there's wisdom for me on this third one, where I'm like, there's things connecting immediately right now that weren't the first time. So in a practical day-to-day example, like if I'm like, oh, I want to give money to this homeless man, right? I'm going to give you $10. I'm going to go buy you a meal because I feel bad and I've got all this abundance of food. I'm going to get you a hot meal and drop it off. So actually the goal would be me, like, let's say, like another version of that would be, I see this person and I don't have any good or bad thought about it. I just say, like, see that it's an event in my environment, and then I don't take action to end his suffering. And that would be actually the best possible version of that interaction.
From a practical point of view, not necessarily.
Okay.
Because if you, in some case, you might say, oh, I didn't do anything. And now you're thinking about it the rest of the day.
Right.
Oh, I could have done something for that person.
Right.
So in that case, maybe, you could have helped, and maybe you should have helped, and you needed, that's the karmic seed that is coming up, and you allow that to ripen. We talk about karmic seeds ripening, that we need to be able to interact. Remember, everything we do with our body, speech, and mind is for the benefit of others.
Right.
So by saying that we are trying to get to the neutral position like that, it's not practical to do it in our everyday life.
Okay.
We may go on retreat. We may spend a weekend. We may spend a week. We may spend a month or a year or 2 years or 3 years in retreat. That's the time to really practice that neutral, because you don't have as many things coming in and invading your space and being able to confuse things and so on.
Okay.
So, and when we come back out of that, then we say, you know what, I'm not going to be walking out on the street, or I'm not going to put myself in those positions to meet those challenges that are going to knock me off of my neutral base. And if so maybe you have a different way of being able to be generous. Maybe, once a month you write a check for $100 or $50 or whatever it is to the Salvation Army. There's my generosity. So maybe that's a rationalization that I'm making, but I'm just saying there are ways to be able to take care of that kind of generosity so that you can have peace of mind when you need to have peace of mind.
Okay, I'm going to digest the nugget you just dispensed to me. I'm going to think about that my thought neutrally. I'm going to think about that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Think about that, and
I will.
think about it not just in terms of that meal, in terms of a material thing, but think of it in terms of time. And
Okay.
think of it in terms of wisdom, because that's currency.
Mm-hmm.
That's,
Okay.
transactional stuff that you're doing with other beings and so on.
Do you find it's necessary to actually get to a place where you can do a retreat to where you actually, because I think like for me, like the practical things of what you're saying, it would be impractical for me, I guess, to not see those things because I see them, they're always in my field of vision, like who may need something that maybe I can alleviate through the abundance of things I have that are material wealth. It would be hard for me, I think right now to shut that off in my current day-to-day sort of behaviors and interactions. Do you find that people actually do seek that out to seek or I guess acquire and learn that experience by removing the distractions? Okay.
Oh, of course. You mean to go on retreat?
Is it, I guess I'm asking, is it necessary? Is it?
I think so.
Okay. Well, it makes sense to me, like in the way you're describing it, like you can't really experience it if you're in the day-to-day of the day-to-day grind, if you will.
It's not a vicarious experience to have peace of mind. You have
Right.
to experience peace of mind.
Correct.
To
Yeah.
understand what it is.
Okay. Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, I'm thinking about like, I'm trying to connect the dots on some trips I've done where I've been able to leave my cell phone and work. Like I've done some hiking trips in Africa, like Kilimanjaro. I was by myself with just like a hiking guide who spoke another language and broken English. And I was, so I didn't have a conversational partner is what I'm saying. I didn't have my cell phone and I was in wilderness for like 7 days. And I can come back into the chaotic environment and I'm like, whoa, it's like jolting to my being, right? It's like, get me the hell out of here. I want to go back to the mountain without the cell phone. I'm trying to, and these are things from like 10 years ago, right? Like I'm really drawing back on perspective where I was able, that's not an obviously retreat, but I'm thinking of where you're away from some of this that we're talking about.
And those are times to break habits.
Yes, absolutely. Yes. Well, this is helpful. I appreciate you taking some time to answer that.
No,
thank you.
Yeah, very good. Okay. Anybody else have a thought or comment?
Yeah, I'm having trouble with the concept of karma.
Okay.
I think I think I have it, and then it slips away. I think you said karma. Well, let me just ask you to address that again. What is karma?
Karma means action.
Right. I wrote that down.
So, but the karma is comprised of, can't be separated from the cause of the karma and the result of the karma. Mm-hmm. So there's an action, but there's a cause to it and there's a result to it.
Can't be separated from cause and result.
Beg pardon?
Can't be separated from cause and result.
No. Because it's dynamic in that way. It goes together. So the karma is the action that we take. So the conversation we're having right now, is an action that was caused by a question that you had in your mind.
Right, but does karma have to be bad or good?
Karma is a function of the phenomenal reality that we live in, which is dualistic. We are dualistic beings.
Right. Right.
And karma is the basis of the activity of being in dualistic thing. So to answer your question, yes, it is a positive or a negative or a neutral. It can be a neutral.
Well, that's crucial to me. It can be neutral.
It can be neutral. So that goes back to what Zara was talking about. Can we get to neutral karma? And that comes from the motivation, from the intention of what your intention is. Are you doing it for your own aggrandizement, for your own benefit, for your own, or for your own suffering? Or are you doing it for the benefit of others? And once you give it to the benefit of others, it's no longer yours and it becomes neutral. You're not holding on to it as yours.
Okay, then
that's the dedication that we do. And when we do these teachings and we do these practices,
okay.
There's three parts. We start off with setting our motivation, the opening prayers.
Okay.
Then we do the practice. Then at the end, then we do a dedication. And basically what we're doing is we're sealing whatever wisdom, whatever whatever method, whatever skillful means that we have cultivated, in that we're sealing it so it can never be disturbed. And we're sealing it by giving it to other beings. Now, if I go out and I do something stupid that would make me upset, that what I did before is not disturbed because I already dedicated the wisdom and the merit to other beings. It's not mine anymore.
Mhm.
It's a subtle point.
Yeah, I'm struggling with it, but thank you.
Hey, Ed, I was going to suggest, I don't know if you've heard this book, Learning Buddhism. They do a really nice primer on describing the different types of karma. I found this really helpful.
Well, this is exactly the book that we're using right now.
Right. And so, yeah, exactly. So do you have a hard copy of that?
No, he doesn't, but we're making everybody have available the
PDFs.
chapters.
Yeah. So I feel like
chapters.
Yeah, I feel like this book, I don't know, sometimes it's helpful to have it in your hand. Like I like to write notes and stuff like down. And so I found like, I'm happy to mail you my copy. Would you like it?
I don't want to take your copy, but if you could tell me where I can get it, I'll pursue my own.
Well, that's the problem. It's no longer in print.
Oh.
And unless somebody is sitting on a copy, there aren't any. It was never in the bookstores. It was only available through the Dharma centers.
Okay, so, but when we get these chapters week by week, we'll eventually
have the whole book.
Right.
We're going to do the whole book.
Okay, got it. All right. Well, thanks for the offer. I appreciate it.
So you're getting each chapter
right
in the PDF form.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
So yeah, okay. Any other questions? Don't hesitate to ask. If I don't know, I'll find out, or we'll talk about it later. So let me see here. All right, so we were talking about thoughts of anger and jealousy. We were talking about the karma. So we need to be able to analyze these things, so this is the point of being able to, what we're doing, we're educating ourselves to our emotions, and we're breaking it down that there's 5 basic emotions, and there's all these causes for these emotions that we need to be able to analyze, but we got to understand how they result, and then what we can do about those emotions. So this is very important stuff. This is not stuff that we let go in one ear and out the other and not think about it. This is food for contemplation. This is stuff that we need to learn. Meditation is not a passive thing. Buddhist meditation is an extremely active thing that leads to that peace of mind. So when we say meditation, we're talking about study. We're talking about receiving teachings. we're talking about contemplation, we're talking about practice, and then we're talking about the actual meditation itself, when there becomes no thought. So we have to go through all these other parts of what we might call meditation to get to that subtle meditation part. So it's a very active thing, and it doesn't come easily. So one of the things that we have to look at is virtue and non-virtue, a dualism of morality, and be able to understand that, to analyze that, and to be able to have a way to categorize and see the karma within the virtue and the non-virtue. So it's part of this dualistic nature. What we need to look at is our human nature and be able to know how to work with our human nature before we can get to our Buddha nature. It's our human nature that keeps pulling us back. When we have moments of clarity, when we have moments of lucidity, when I got it, I know what karma means. And then all of a sudden comes another thought and it just pulls you back. And that other thought was our human nature. Eventually, if you work at this long enough, you'll be able to maintain the mindfulness of that meditation, of that understanding of what that karma is being able to see that dualistic nature, and one does not pull down the other. They both become coexistent, and we become to abide within that. We become a master of the dualistic nature. We're not controlled by it, we control it. So we're controlling our mind. This is what we're learning to do, controlling the mind.
Is that the master of interdependence?
Yes, this is the master of interdependence.
Thanks, Lance.
Sure, thank you. So we have to recognize all this is all temporary. You know, this is all just part of being a human being. You know, and how many? There's 7.5 billion people on the planet, and we're all having the same kinds of thoughts and experiences and so on in different circumstances. You know, but nothing new is under the sun. It's all been thought of before. And one of the beautiful things about, I think, the Dharma teachings is that it addresses all those things. You know, it doesn't push anything off. It brings it all in, whether it's physical or it's intellectual or it's psychological. It's all there in the Dharma, and that's the beauty of this. So it's here for us to be able to, for us to examine it, what our human nature is, so that we can rest our human nature and see it's only temporary. I don't need to get caught up in this. This stuff doesn't last forever. What lasts forever, what is forever, if we want to put a time thing on it, and it's wrong to say it that way, but if we want to be in the true nature, the true nature has no time. The true nature has no location. It's all here now, and only now.
Lance?
Yes, sir.
I think one of the most difficult things that I had to come face to face with, and correct me if I'm incorrect on this, is discovering that I can only do for myself. I cannot do anything for anybody else. And the whole change has to come to myself rather than me helping or doing. Not that I can't help or do for people.
Well, why was that difficult?
It was so difficult because I had an idea that that was being stingy, and the concept of doing for myself, I didn't realize that I had to do for myself before I could do anything for anybody else or with anybody else, because I wouldn't have the wisdom or the knowledge because I hadn't done it with myself or for myself.
Well, that's true, but do you do it in steps and stages, or do you think that we do it all at once? I become perfect. Now I can help other beings become perfect.
No, it's
Or
not.
does it
It's
happen
not
in
that
stages?
it's not that you become, or that I don't feel that I become necessarily perfect, but I do realize the fact that before I can pull somebody out of the mud, I have to be on firm ground to help pull them out of the mud, the muck and the mire.
Well, that's right.
And
You're correct.
and to be on firm ground, I have to take care of myself, and I have to and I'm the only one that can do that for me.
That's correct. No,
No.
everybody has that same dynamic.
Yeah,
You know,
it's difficult to, it's difficult to make that realization that,
But as we're doing that, as we are working on ourselves, we're whatever success we have, we're dedicating to the benefit of others.
right, and whatever
That has to be first in our mind.
yeah, whatever I'm doing, when I sit down to eat
And why?
breakfast,
Why do we have to do that?
well, when I sit down and eat breakfast, I'm eating breakfast with the thought in my mind that I'm doing this breakfast so that I can help others to in whatever way I meet them during the day.
All right. So the question I asked is, why do we have to do that?
The reason we have to do that is because I am you. We're one and the same. We're made out of the same stuff. We breathe the same air. We drink the same water. We
Well, that's
have
a
the
good
same,
answer. That's a good practical answer, and I agree with that.
yeah, we
The
have the
answer I'm
same
looking for-
experiences.
The answer I'm looking for, though, is if we don't do that, give it to others, then we keep it for ourselves. And if we keep it for ourselves, it just feeds our ego. It just feeds our arrogance. It just
Well,
feeds our pride and our greed. So
maybe that's,
we have to always be thinking of giving it to other beings. Our generosity has to be very, very important, foremost in our mind.
maybe that's what I was thinking about, the fact that that do it egolessly, whatever it is that you're doing.
Right.
But you have to do it. You have to maintain yourself. You have to be strong to carry on and do whatever it is that's needed.
So it's interconnected. It's interconnected.
We're all interconnected.
And the process is interconnected.
Yeah, I can't do anything that doesn't affect you.
Correct.
Yeah.
We can't, I don't think we can do anything that doesn't affect the entire universe. It's like we're in the ocean of samsara, and in the ocean of samsara, it's full of teeming with phenomenal life, and much of it is very delicate. So that every step we take causes waves in that ocean, and those waves go out and never stop. So they'll bounce off of mountains, and somewhere along the line, they're going to knock somebody off a mountain, and it's going to die. So we never know what the waves in the long run are going to cause. But we have to take responsibility for the fact that we're walking around that ocean and causing ripples that we don't control. My opinion.
No, that's very good.
Lance, I want to ask a practical question, just because I'm enjoying the organic nature of this conversation, how it's unfolding. So let's go back and let's say I have let's say abundance of money. I'll just use that example. And
Say that again. I didn't hear that.
sorry. Okay, I have an abundance of money. Like I have more than what I need, like just the basics of what I need, groceries and, all these things. I see a close friend of mine, for example, who's been adversely impacted by COVID, like laid off, struggling to pay bills, groceries. And then I say, I'm going to give you a $25,000 check, right? Like cash under the table or whatever. But then maybe maybe they need to suffer. Maybe there's some experience in how COVID impacted them that helps them actually grow in some ways. Is it misguided to think like that, where my action, even though my intention is good and it's through generosity, maybe I'm delaying some inevitable experience someone needs to go to actually transcend to something higher? Do you ever think about that?
That's a really good point. And, we have to look at our motivations for wanting to be generous or something like that. Are you buying someone's love? Are you buying their devotion or something like that? Is that what your motivation is? Or is it that you're going to be harming somebody ultimately by giving them that, and by not knowing them very well and so on? And, are you taking the time? Can you afford the time? Maybe it's not practical for you to have the time to be able to know what they're going to do with that. Are they going to squander that? I think that's the thought that a lot of us have when we're down on the street somewhere and there's a panhandler and, you want to give him some money, you don't want to see him go hungry. But at the same time, you're saying, yeah, if I give him $5, he's going to go right into the liquor store and he's going to go buy himself a half a pint of moonshine or whatever it is. And he's just going to get drunk on it. But then there might be the situation where the guy really is hungry. He's going to take it and he's going to go into the fast food place and he's going to go get himself something to eat. So, do you have a questionnaire that you're ready to ask somebody when you're going to do something like that? But it has to be part of the equation.
But generosity is the antidote for greed.
Correct.
But generosity, as she says,
but it's got to be wise generosity.
Right, but sometimes you have no way of knowing.
Well, and so sometimes you have to be neutral.
But then do you go through with the generosity?
Not necessarily.
So how do you decide?
Because like Zara just said, it may be causing more harm than it's good.
But how does Zara or any of us decide in any given case?
Well, I don't know. It's through our practicality and our wisdom of living our human life and being virtuous and knowing the dualistic nature of things and maybe having some faith in things. Okay. Sometimes having a faith in your knowledge of what you assess the situation to be.
Fair enough. Thank you.
So Lance, and your thoughts back on this are like, first of all, it's the intention. So like, if I'm just going through it like in a linear sort of, how do I make this difficult? Like you said, wise generosity. First and foremost, I need to do it from a place of my intention is to end this, help this person's, ease this person's suffering, right? That needs to be first and foremost there. And then that needs to be intact. And then and then you're saying there's like contextual cues that would maybe help guide. Is this the wise thing to do or not? So in the case of me giving someone money, what and I already know this because I do this for a family member. I think I've delayed her, like, you need to go get an actual another job. And you need to be like humbled maybe, and go, you know, because I'm
So
hard
we're
work.
enabling their
Enabling,
laziness
yes.
or something like that.
Yes, enabling.
Right,
Yes,
exactly.
but I'm trying to also concurrently end her suffering because I see she's in her own wheel of, let's say, karmic hell, if you will. That's what I.
And some people, so this is the ego. She is egotistical
Yeah.
about her being lazy or whatever it is, you know, that you're thinking about enabling, and her ego is being fed when you do that. Oh, I get money when I act this way.
Yes. Mm-hmm. So then
So,
it would be, that's not wise generosity. That's a non-example of wise generosity.
right.
Okay.
I mean,
Lance just answered a dilemma I'm dealing with right now.
so sometimes, you know, it's knowing who it is that is going to be the beneficiary. And if you're not focused just on this individual beneficiary, but say, I'm going to help mankind, that if I help this one individual, is that helping mankind? Or is that helping, you know, this individual to become a better neurotic?
So
So my point is it better? Okay, I've got this. I want to help this person. Maybe I should give it to the Salvation Army or something, because I trust them that they're going to use this gift and be able to help many more people with it. Something
So
like that.
let me ask you something more closer to home for probably everyone on the Zoom. I imagine then being a parent to a child, right? A child under your care where you have to cautiously balance this throughout their entire life while they're underneath your care, like to age 18. We're talking about this wise generosity, right? Rescuing your child or enabling them or feeding their ego. That seems like a heavy responsibility once you've transited onto this path of where we're all kind of culminating, and then you have like a child. I don't have children, but I have nieces and nephews, and I see this in my sisters and brothers, how I can see feed into their children's egos. And I wondered what your thoughts were on that. Is there karma there that you're burning off when you're going through that and you're seeing it happen and you're like wanting not to feed your child's ego as they're, I don't know, maybe Adrian would talk about that, because Adrian, you have children, you're also on this journey and your children are younger. How do you handle that?
I just yell at them.
Keep them quiet.
No, I think to me, sometimes I do get upset, and I do that. To me, the whole thing, it boils down to if you're getting attached to your actions or to the things that are happening around you. So let's say, for example, that you offer some monetary support to a person, and of course you're trying to help that person with your gift, but I'm always looking at myself when I do that. Am I attached to the money? Am I attached to the result of my action? Am I expecting something to come out of it? And if I do, then definitely I know that I'm on the wrong path.
That's a real good point.
It's the same thing with every action that I do. For example, if I go, to a park to find quietness, and I'm looking at myself like, why am I driving to the park? Why do I need to do this? And the answer is usually, is because I have something going on in my life that I don't like, and I'm running away from it, and I don't know how to deal with it. and I'm trying to have like an escape, right? Escape that behavior. And so it's always about the type of attachment that you have to your actions. That's how I see it. That's the way that you interact with others as well. Most people will look for help if they need help. Like the teachings, the Dharma teachings, I think in Tibet, they're not given just, even if the people are asking for it. Sometimes I think the lamas are waiting like for the person to ask 3 or 4 times before the teaching is given, because they want to know that that person really wants to know what's going on.
Adrian, let me ask you more specifically then, just because I think this is probably the most clear example. Like if your child says, Dad, I want this, are you attached to the outcome or the impact it may have on your child, or alleviating your child's like, Dad, I want to get this game right now, and without earning it or whatever contingency? Do you have an attachment to the consequence on your child? Because that's such a close relationship. It's a different type of relationship than like a colleague or anyone maybe on this call even.
Yeah. And I want to say, like Lance was saying a little bit earlier, that I'm getting better with it. Like, none of my kids, I mean, Aiden, he doesn't eat meat, right? But he's not completely vegan, and I'm like, I had enough health problems in my life to where I'm like, very conscious about what I eat. And I used to get like really upset about their choices in when it comes to food. But now I'm just kind of like realizing that they have their own path. But yeah, to some extent, I do want to have some control over that stuff, because I want to have a balanced life. So they do have screen time. But they have to go outside as well. So to the best of my abilities, I'm trying to balance their lifestyle, and at the same time trying to look at myself and be like, okay, how much am I into this process? Am I able to step back and look at myself to see if there's some like anger in sometimes when the situation is getting a little bit heated up. And even if it's a moment like that, when I feel anger, at least I learn to become more aware of it and be more detached. Because when you recognize it, the anger kind of like goes away. And that's when, at least in my opinion, I think you start working with your karma and neutralizing karma. You, by becoming aware of it, that's when the meditation kicks in. You're becoming more conscious about your actions. I don't know if I answered.
No, that's actually really helpful, because I think that is for me like where I go to, like in relation to the like people closest to you, are they probably push you to grow the most, because we're attached to like the people, our mother, father, our brother and sister, our kids, those really close attachments where it feels painful to watch them suffer, or to watch your child cry or sister cry. Thank you for shedding insight, and thank you, Lance.
Well, let's take a question. Let's go back just a little bit and talk about karma, cause and result. And what kind of a responsibility do we have to the result? And are we, in the case of a parent, the responsibility is much greater than it is for a stranger that you're doing something for. So I think that's part of the point that you're making, but I think that whenever we do take an action, whenever we do create a karma, we should observe the result, because it may have an unintended result that we didn't expect because of something else that was hidden, that we didn't recognize. So we have to observe that, and then not be bound by it in the regard that I'm going to beat myself up because I took the wrong action. My motivation was really pure, but I didn't understand about this other facet. But now I resolve myself to be a better action person, to be able to consider at least this other, contributory condition that I didn't expect to, at least now, to look for that now, to be able to expect something else, to be able to examine that now. Does that make sense? So,
Yeah, I do. It does make sense. Yeah.
we have to let it go. If we give the money to the panhandler, and instead of going to some food, instead he goes into the liquor store and he gets a bottle, we got to let that go. Just as much as if he went into the food store and got himself something to eat, we got to let that go.
So hence, literally, no attachment to the outcome of the action. Like as long as the intention was
not a obsessive negative attachment.
okay.
There can be a positive educational aspect to it. Something that makes you aware of something that you were ignorant of.
Okay.
Does that make sense? Am I being clear enough about that?
Yeah, I think yes, and I think
in other words, are we being an enabler? And is that a negative thing on your side and on their side? Now that you know you're being an enabler and you continue that activity, that's a negative on your side.
Yeah, yes, yeah. I see what you're saying. It's like once it's part of the actualized wisdom process too. Like you're like, I see through this exchanges what you mean when you say now the term wise generosity, and only when you have a couple of maybe non-opportunities for it, and then you grow from those non-optimal situations.
And that's a good point. How many times have you been in someone's midst who's asking for money and you refuse them? And then
A
you
lot.
felt guilty about it the rest of the day. But then you have another opportunity to give somebody something and you give them twice as much to make up for the guy that you didn't give to the day before or something like that.
Yeah.
So it goes back to that attention that we're doing it for the benefit of all beings and so on.
Okay. Thank you.
So this goes to this point now about shamatha meditation, because what we realize is that we're going to find peace and happiness outside of ourselves by doing things outside of ourselves. The peace and happiness comes within ourselves. And how much peace of mind we have with this, how much we can let things go, how much we're holding on to, and being able to find that the equanimity there. So if we remember that the peace and happiness is not outside, it's inside. So that took care of a whole page right there.
Excellent.
All this is in the book. It's maybe in slightly different terms, but the ideas that we're talking about right now are in this chapter. And all I've done is made some notes, so I didn't have to go read line by line so that I can remember all the points of the chapter to bring them out for us to discuss.
Lance?
Yes, sir.
Peace and happiness is always within, and it's something that we control. We can be happy when somebody spits in our face, or we can be sad when somebody says something to us But we've got that control of whether or not that we're happy or not. It's all our control of the thing. And that's the emotions interact there and take that control away from us.
So this brings me to a point that the Buddha said here in this chapter. The Buddha said, do only good deeds, do only virtuous things, be a benefit to others, and tame your own mind. It's a variation on the theme where we say, the Buddha said, do no harm, do only good deeds, and be a benefit to all sentient beings. Now, in this, he's saying, tame your own mind, because our mind just goes in all these different directions. So in the Four Noble Truths, if you remember, we talked about the Eightfold Path. And the second of the Eightfold Path is to have the right resolve. So the right intention, the right aspiration, the right focus of what it is that you're about to do and so on. And you're doing it with love and compassion, joy, equanimity for other beings. And once and you do that, and it becomes your protection. Even if it fails, you have a protection that, now I know the right thing I should have done. I failed this time, but I just proved that I was wrong. So look at it that now I know how to do it. We learn more by our failures than we learn by our successes. If we're just all the time doing things right all the time, we just get arrogant and prideful about it. But if we fail every now and then, we get humble. We gain our humility. We gain more wisdom that way by knowing the other side. Does that make sense? So this is why Samatha meditation, calm abiding meditation. So Yamal just joined us a little while ago in the middle of this conversation. So I just want to put this in a context for her. Just joined us, and we're talking about calm abiding meditation and why we engage in calm abiding shamatha meditation, it's called. To give us the opportunity to be able to sort all this out. Once we leave school, whatever age we leave school, whether it's high school or college or junior high school, whatever we left and everything, and then we get into our careers, we're just plowing ahead all the time, just exercising what it is we learn, and we don't get too circumspect about the rest of our lives until maybe we reach some point in our life where we say, you know what, I got to reevaluate. I have to see where I am. And that's what we need to do. We need to do that as young people. Young people need to learn to do that. And society will be the beneficiary for that. Instead, everybody's just plowing ahead, with I me mine. So developing calm abiding meditation, shamatha meditation, we need to sleep, 6, 7, 8, 9 hours a day, whatever it is. And out of those other 16 hours of the day, we need to take some time out there to meditate, to be able to transcend our everyday experience, our everyday mindfulness and so on, and develop a spiritual mindfulness. All right. So this brings me now to this next point. How do I do this? So we're going to briefly talk about what it is to meditate properly. What is the physicality of meditation. Now, you can choose to do this. You can choose not to do this. This is a process. And part of the process is to balance your physical body and to balance your intellectual body so that your spiritual body is revealed, is opened up. So to do this, there is a very common sense way of sitting. And we sit on our butt, on a cushion or something, and we're sitting with our legs crossed. And when we're sitting with our legs crossed like this, and our back is straight, it's very difficult for us to fall over. We can find a nice, comfortable place. And when we're sitting like this, our pelvis, is the bottom of our hips, the pelvis bone, the big bone in our body. And there's two protrusions on the bottom of that is in our buttocks. And they're called sit bones. And if you go to a yoga class, they'll talk about your sit bones. And if you find your sit bones, if you can find underneath the flesh of your butt, you find those two parts of your pelvis, and you put your weight on the cushion on those sit bones, you're not putting your weight on the fleshy part of your butt and your thighs, your legs won't go to sleep. Because that's the most common thing that people complain about when they do yoga, meditation, and so on, is that their legs fall asleep or they begin to cramp. So at least the falling asleep part is when the blood is not circulating properly because it's being squashed while you're sitting on the cushion. So to find your sit bones is an integral part of this process. And you sit with that. Your back is straight. You're not leaning against anything. You don't need to lean against anything. So this is the first part of the position. Your legs are crossed, however you can cross them. If you can't sit in this position and you have to sit in a chair, that's fine. You sit, as I just said, on your sit bones. You're not leaning against the back of the chair. You're sitting straight and your legs are together. Your knees are together. Your feet are together. It's not a lazy kind of a posture. So you have to find what's comfortable for you. But if you do this, you'll find that this is very liberating. So body straight. So then the next thing is, now you take your shoulders, and your shoulders, you want to bring your shoulders back in a elegant position. They're not up here like this around your ears, but they're relaxed and they're back. They're not up here like this. They're not hunched towards forward. So your chest is coming out a little bit. You're not exaggerating it. You're not bringing your arms all the way back here. But when you pull your shoulders back like that, and you bring your hands together with your left hand up and your right hand lying in your left hand and your thumbs touching, you pull your shoulders back, like I've said, it brings your hands right into your navel, maybe 4 inches below your navel, in that area. And it brings it in there. And this is the classic meditation position, is with your hands at your navel like that. Now, you can put your hands at your knees. You can put both hands at each your right and left knee appropriately, and you can use that position as very good. And you just relax. You're not holding your arms straight. There's no tension in your body. You're trying to lose any tension in your body. So your elbows are a little bit relaxed. So you're sitting like that. You can sit like that. These are the two best positions. And you can alternate between them during your session. You want to do that. Okay? So next, your head, of course, is on your neck. And your neck is just a little bit forward so that your face comes a little bit forward. Your chin is a little bit down. So you're not looking up like this. You're looking down like this. And if you can imagine that your face, that your head is like a gallant horse, either a stallion or a mare. You know, they got the long face and and the eyes are out and everything, but it's got, and it's down like that. The chin is down. So that's the next position, is your neck is a little bit forward, your face is down, your chin is in a little bit, and you're holding that position. And now your eyes can be open or closed. In the beginning, it's most effective to keep your eyes closed because we're trying to bring one-pointed mindfulness. And if our eyes are open, we begin looking around the room and seeing different things and thinking about different things. So at least in the beginning, pardon me, it's good to close your eyes, and it gets dark. You know, you just see blackness, and that's okay. You just rest in that. There's nothing, you know, we're just visualizing, you know, our position, our body position. We visualize, you know, a picture of a meditationer, of a Buddha. You know, you've seen pictures of the Buddha, I'm sure. If you need a picture, I can send you a picture. But you've seen that. So you just visualize yourself as the Buddha sitting there. So your eyes are closed. If you do open your eyes, you don't want to look at anything specifically. You're looking in the direction of your nose down towards the floor and maybe 4 or 5 feet out in front of you with nothing in particular that you're looking at, just a gaze. You're not staring. Your eyes are relaxed. You can blink your eyes whenever you need to, and your eyelids are maybe halfway open, halfway closed. Just relax, just a gaze down in that direction. And you can alternate that during your session. You can close your eyes, you can open your eyes, you can close your eyes like that. And the last thing is your tongue is on the roof of your mouth, right behind your front teeth. And this keeps your mouth moist. If you breathe through your mouth, it has a tendency to dry your mouth out. But if you keep your tongue, as I said, on the roof behind your front teeth, your saliva will continue to flow. So it's a very practical thing. So these 7 points, what I just pointed out to you, is called the 7-point posture of Varanchana. Varanchana is the all-pervading Buddha, the all-pervading wisdom. He's a meditational Buddha. So we'll talk more about the different Buddhas later on, but this is taught in his image. So we're just visualizing ourselves as the Buddha sitting like this, in this classic position. Our back is straight. The most important part of this posture is to keep our back straight. And the reason for that is that there is a center channel that runs from the crown of our head down through our body, parallel to our spine, that comes down 4 inches below our navel. It's inside our body, and our energy rides up and down this channel. When we're born, when we're conceived, the egg of the mother, the sperm of the father comes together, and the spirit, whatever you want to call it, of that who is to be born unites with now the fertilized egg. It all comes together. And this life force is released. And this life force runs up and down this center channel during our whole lifetime. And you've heard of the chakras. There's 7 chakras. And the chakras are these points along this center channel that then become gateways for this energy to go out into the channels, into all the different parts of the body and so on. This energy is going out and so on. So of course, this is invisible to the scientific eye, but to the spiritual eye, it's quite obvious. And by closing your eyes and visualizing this, you begin to become familiar with it, and you become to see the operation of this, how this is every part of our body, as our heart pumping blood and our lungs taking in air and moving air, and our kidneys and liver filtering our blood, and all the different organs and so on. That's all the physical stuff. This is the spiritual body. So if you can right now, wherever you're sitting, if you can sit as I just suggested, if you can just come forward in your seat, wherever you are. If you're sitting on the floor, that's fine. If you're sitting on a chair, then you're bringing your legs together, either crossed if you're on the floor, or on a chair with your legs together, your feet together. Your back is straight. Your shoulders are back. Your hands are at your navel. Your neck is just a little bit forward. Your head is tilted down just a little bit. Your chin is just tucked in a little bit. Your eyes are closed. And the tongue is on the roof of your mouth behind your front teeth. So just relax in this position. Let all the tension go in your legs and in your arms, in your shoulders. Just become aware of how your body feels. Just relax and stay stable in this position. So now we breathe in through both nostrils. Our mouth is closed. We breathe in deeply. And as we breathe in, we are filling our lungs with fresh, clean, pure air. And we are filling our lungs because we are pulling the diaphragm that pushes against the lungs to open and close the lungs. So we're expanding the diaphragm. And the diaphragm is expanded when we expand our abdomen, our belly. So when we take the breath in, you extend your abdomen, your belly. It should come out. You can feel it. You're not breathing with your chest. You're breathing with your belly. You're pulling that fresh, clean, pure air into your lungs, and you hold it there. So breathe in through both nostrils, expand the belly, open up the diaphragm. It pulls down the lungs and pulls in the fresh, clean, pure air, and hold that breath. Now exhale through both nostrils, squeeze the abdomen, squeeze, contract it. It presses against the diaphragm. The diaphragm pushes against the lungs. The lungs force all that stale, negative, dark air now out through both nostrils. If you have trouble breathing through your nose and you need to open your mouth, that's fine. But if you can keep your nostrils open and breathe through them, it's better. So we breathe in again through both nostrils, expand the belly, hold the breath, hold it. Exhale, squeeze the abdomen, squeeze the diaphragm, squeeze the lungs, push all that stale negative air out, and hold that vacant breath. There's no air in your lungs. Hold that breath. Keep your body straight. Breathe in again. Both nostrils, expand the belly, keep your chest neutral. Hold the breath. Feel how your body is. Relax your arms, relax your legs, relax your shoulders. Exhale. Push all that stale negative air out by contracting your belly and hold the vacant breath. Breathe in again. Hold it. Exhale. Hold it. Breathe in. Hold it. Exhale. Breathe in and visualize pure, clean, white air coming in. Hold that breath. Now exhale, stale, dark. Air going out. Soiled air being expelled. Inhale, white air. Hold it. Exhale, stale, negative, dark, soiled air going out. Hold it. Breathe in. Watch the breath. White air coming in, soiled air going out. Exhale. Stay relaxed. Keep your arms relaxed, your shoulders. Breathe in. Exhale. Your mind wanders, just bring it back to watching your breath, breathing in and exhaling. Inhale. Out. That's 10. Breathe in. Out. 11. Breathe in. Out. 12. In. Out. 13. In. out. 14. In. Out. 15. Breathe in. Check your body position. Keep your back straight. Keep your body relaxed. Out. 16. Breathe in. Out. 17. Breathe in. Out. 18. In. Out. 19. Breathe in. Out. 20. Now breathe in very deeply. Hold it. Exhale very completely. Hold it. Now relax. Breathe normal at your own pace. Breathing in through your nose. Exhaling through your nose if you can. Just stay relaxed and watch your breath coming in and going out. Your mind wanders. Just let go of the thought gently and bring it back to watching your breath. Just simply being mindful of your breath, letting everything else go. Take a deep breath. Hold it. Exhale. And just relax. Open your eyes. Okay. So that was an example of how to begin shamatha calm abiding meditation. Focusing on an object. In this case, the object was our breath, our breathing. So next time we'll talk about more aspects of the physicality of doing the practice. And there's more motivational things to talk about, understanding the process of the meditation, shamatha. So we'll talk about that next time.
Lance,
Yes, sir.
can you say something about these?
About what? Oh, the cushions?
Yeah.
Now, Adrian's holding up a Zephu, what that is called, is a meditation cushion. And there's many different kinds you can use. You can use a cushion off of your sofa or something like that, whatever is comfortable. Some people like hard ones, some people like soft ones. The one that Adrian has is filled with buckwheat hulls. And they're very pliable, and they take the shape of your butt. So they become very comfortable. Some of those Zafus are cotton, kapok it's called, and they're more firm. They're very good too. And then foam rubber can be good, but you want something that is supportive, and and you may go through a number of things as a meditator to find what it is that you prefer. So if anybody has any questions about, the cushions or anything, I'll be glad to answer what I can. Yes, Yamal?
This is the first time I practice this. I don't know if it's normal to feel tension, to hold that position in your shoulders.
Sure. In the beginning, yes, you'll feel all kinds of things.
And how long will it take me? And also the breathing was too hard for me to keep. How long would my body get used to it?
Sure. You got to get used to it. It's like going to the gym. When you first go to the gym and you pick up the weights or you do the different exercises, it's very difficult. But the more you do it as part of a routine, you're conditioning your body, the easier it becomes and the more you can do. So it's a practice. So it takes time after time to practice this.
How often would you recommend to do this? You mentioned once a day during the whatever you can find a time. Is it 10 minutes, 20?
I would recommend to you exactly what we just did today. If you can do it first thing in the morning is the best time, but you may get up and you got kids to deal with and so on, may not be practical. But whenever you can, if you can do it at the same time every day, would be really good to establish a routine. And you say, okay, I'm going to take 10 minutes or 15 minutes, and I'm going to do these breathing exercises and count to 20 like I did. And while it's fresh in your mind right now, maybe you can get a piece of paper and a pencil and write down the 7 positions and the breathing instructions. And then it'll be very quickly, you will memorize that and just keep practicing that every day for 10, 15 minutes. And you'll see, after several days, it will be much more effortless than it was tonight.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Anybody else have a question or comment? Okay. Well, I hope it was helpful. The shamatha meditation is core teaching. This is where the the doctrine, the academics of Buddhist philosophy now comes together in a practice. And the practice is the contemplation and the meditation. So by doing what we just did gives us the proper vehicle to be able to carry out that meditation, that contemplation. Okay, so now we open up our prayer books and we'll do our dedication. So Yamel, if you're interested in pursuing this, I'll be more than happy to send you a copy of this book, or you can download it online. We're going to do this every Monday night. We do teachings, and I'll be so you're on our list now, and you're more than welcome to join us.
I'll be happy to.
Very good. Okay, so now we will go to page 20, 21, and 22. We'll recite these prayers, which are dedication prayers. So as I said before, the first prayers that we do are for our motivation, to remember why it is that we're doing this. Then we do the practice, then we receive the teaching, then we do the study. That's the main part of the session. And then at the end, we do this part, which is the dedication. Now, whatever wisdom we have gained, whatever merit we have gained, whatever skillful means we have gained, we are now dedicating to the enlightenment of all sentient beings. And we're sealing this practice so it becomes a sealed event. We can't damage it. We can't harm it in any way. We're giving it to other beings. So we recite these prayers now. By the virtues, excuse me, Tom, you started this. Will you, he's the Omze tonight. Will you read this, please?
Certainly.
Just in English.
Okay. The Decorma prayer. By the virtues collected into 3 times, by myself and all beings in samsara and nirvana, and by the innate root of virtue, may I and all sentient beings quickly attain unsurpassed, perfect, complete, and precious enlightenment. May the teachings of the great Trikunpa Ritnashri, who is omniscient, Lord of the Dharma, master of interdependence, continue and increase through study, practice, contemplation, and meditation until the end of samsara. The dedication prayer by Lord Jidkun Sumgun. Glorious, holy, venerable, precious, kind root Lama and lineage Lamas, divine assemblies of Yidams and assemblies of Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, Yogins, Yoginis, and Dakinis, dwelling in the 10 directions, please hear my prayer. May the virtues collected in the 3 times by myself and all sentient beings in samsara and nirvana, and the innate root of virtue, not result in the 8 worldly concerns, the 4 causes of samsara, or rebirth of the Shravatka or Prayatka Buddha. May all mother sentient beings, especially those enemies who hate me and mine, obstructors who harm, misleading Maras, and the hordes of demons, experience happiness, be separated from suffering, and swiftly attain unsurpassed, perfect, complete, and precious Buddhahood. By the power of this vast root of virtue, may I benefit all beings through my body, speech, and mind. May the afflictions of desire, hatred, ignorance, arrogance, and jealousy not arise in my mind. May attachments to fame, reputation, wealth, honor, and concern for this life not arise for even a moment. May my mind stream be moistened by the loving kindness, compassion, and bodhicitta. And through that, may I become a spiritual master with good qualities equal to the infinity of space. May I gain the supreme attainment of Mahamudra in this very life. May the torment of suffering not arise even at the time of my death. May I not die with negative thoughts. May I not die confused by wrong view. May I not experience an untimely death. May I die joyfully and happily in the great luminosity of the mind as such and the pervading clarity of Samatha. May I in any case gain the supreme attainment of Mahamudra at the time of death or in the bardo. Om Ahum. Om Ahum. Om Ahum. May my body, speech, and mind become inseparable with the body, speech, and mind of all the enlightened ones.
Very good. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Jay.
Thank you much.
Thank you, Lance.